Welcome to the InFLOW podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome to the InFLOW podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch. Spending some time with all of you today again. And I just came back, a few days back from a trip I took out to Miami, Florida. I'm part of a women's network organization called The Trust. It's headed by my, former mentor and really good friend, Mrs. Allie Brown. And if you are interested in, checking that out, just go to jointhetrust.org. It is for business owners doing at least 7 figures. So I went to this event. I was actually considering possibly missing it because I had a lot of things going on here at work and at home. And I am so glad that, I actually made the trip. Whenever you're in a situation where you can go out there and network and basically be amongst other amazing entrepreneurs and women doing amazing things in the marketplace, you have to go regardless of that. I like to call it like your inner pig that wants to stay home, that wants to not have to worry about packing, that wants to not worry about having to book flights or getting ready or putting on makeup and so on and so forth. Just go. Every single time I, kind of like double guess myself on my original decision, because I usually already have, my flight booked and everything. And then I'm like, dang, should I go? Should I not go? Go. There's a reason why you had that initial impulse to go and to book flights and to get going. So listen to those impulses. They're whispers. I like to call it whispers from God, letting you know basically that you are on track and that you need to follow that. In any case, so part of those meetings are an advisor that is, brought in, that has been very, very successful in a specific industry. And the advisor for, the trust meeting that just happened right now in Miami was actually Kara Goldin. If you don't know who she is the founder and CEO of Hint. Hint is the largest private beverage industry here in the US, basically competing against Coca-Cola, Pepsi, the big ones. She's basically taken her business from zero in dollars and zero industry experience to about $150 million in revenue. And she happens to also work with her spouse. And there were some amazing, I think, lessons and things to take away, especially for us, land investors, land, flippers, and just generally for all business owners in general. And the very first thing that caught my attention is that I really shared, and I think what separates people from the pack is this one thing. And this one thing is an obsession with figuring things out. That you might not have the industry experience yet, or if you do and you're trying something new, that, there's going to be, some trial and error and so on and so forth, but you're obsessed with figuring out how it works and how to optimize it, how to multiply it, how to make it big. And that is something that it was the very first characteristic that I heard, coming out of Kara's mouth. And I thought, oh my gosh, this lady, this woman, I'm actually looking forward to at some point in the near future bringing her here on the show so that you guys can all hear directly from her. but I thought we are kindred spirits when she talked about, this obsession of being, of bringing to the marketplace, even though she didn't know how, of bringing to the marketplace a drink that was unsweetened, that did not compromise, on preservatives and on other bunch of, bad things and ingredients that are being put into beverages such as Diet Coke or anything, that comes from, Pepsi or Coca-Cola. And she didn't want to compromise, and she was basically determined to figure it out. They had so many setbacks, when you don't use preservatives, and when it comes to shelf life, mold spores in the beginning that would, come up. They weren't detrimental, and there weren't, something that were going to necessarily make someone, ill, but it's something that, you can't bring something out into the marketplace that, that has a potential for something like that. And so they were obsessed with figuring it out, to the point of, countless hours on their kitchen, trying to, mimic and reproduce, what some of the bottling companies were telling them that, that couldn't be done. And eventually, they figured it out. It took them some time. They figured it out, but it was this one thing of being obsessed, basically, with bringing to the marketplace something that, helps other people and that helps them reach their personal goals. How does it translate for us here in the land business? It's about being obsessed with creating triple wins for, a win for the seller that is being, that is being relieved of the property, the burden of property ownership. And it's creating a win for a buyer that is looking for a piece of land to call their home, or, their American dream, their homestead, whatever it may be, or their weekend getaway, or that financial investment, that is going to help them, for retirement, to have a dignified retirement, and so on and so forth, or a builder that is looking to provide, not just housing, but a home for a family, and so on. So this obsession basically can be brought into the land flipping space from the point of view of creating triple wins, of always figuring out, how can I bring integrity into the marketplace? How can I separate myself from the pack, from everyone else competing perhaps in a specific market? There are some markets in the US where, there's quite a bit of movement going on when it comes to buying and selling of land. And if you happen to be in some of those hot markets, that is the one thing that is going to make you basically completely separate from the pack. One of the reasons why I think, regardless of, there being a little bit more players in specific markets, especially for land, and some of our students, especially in our coaching program, still excelling and separating themselves from everyone else trying to do the same there, is that, we have this mentality of the triple win, number one, and we are all about, systematizing the pretty much what is predictable, so that you can humanize the extraordinary. And what I want to say by that is, humanizing the extraordinary is humanizing the relationship, between your seller, so that your seller doesn't go behind your back. It's humanizing that relationship with your buyer, really understanding, what do they need this property for, and you helping and going above and beyond to helping decide that this is the right, piece of land for them. I can't tell you how many people out there in the industry, teach or have a course, slap a course together, I should say, and never talk about this crucial, aspect, and excelling in not just doing one flip, but doing multiple flips, having a business that that also has a good influx of referrals because of the way you have handled yourself in a transaction with either a seller or with either a buyer. So that was one of the things that, it struck me, as it was this obsession with helping others reach their personal goals, creating triple wins, and taking a stand for something. In her case, it was taking a stand for no sweetened drinks. In our case, it would be taking a stand for treating, sellers and buyers with humanity, with integrity, with being, forthcoming and just honest in either intentions, in negotiations, making sure. And I'm not saying that you're going to leave money on the table, but you want to make sure that everyone and all parties involved feel like they won in a transaction. And that's something that I know that is separating, certain land flippers, the top 1% for sure, from the rest. The next thing that, she talked about, and that was incredibly applicable for us as well, is as we build our land business, we're going to be scaling. And when scaling, we're going to be basically creating the volume that we need in order for cash profits to not just continue fueling the growth of, our marketing and property purchases and so on, and our lifestyles, but it's also going to be fueling the growth of our team. We're going to be automating and delegating and hiring team at some point in our, in our land flipping career. And it is so important, like Kara said, that we bring on board grownups. Sometimes we hire people out of despair, out of proximity, and I'm all about a family-based business, but sometimes our family may not be the best candidates, to come and help us build and grow our land flipping business. I know that when Jack and I started, that was certainly the case for us. And even today, as we continue, to build not just the land, our multifamily and our education business, it is so important that the team that we bring on board and that we surround ourselves with is a team of grownups. What I mean by grownups are, people that do not need babysitting, that are not going to be giving you kindergarten level drama, on a daily basis, but that actually can take on a lot off of your plate, and that are more capable than you actually in certain areas of the business, to really help you advance and grow and start creating, processes that are going to elevate, your business, your brand, your particular way of doing things, in your particular market, and really help it rise above everyone else, above any other players in that market. So in order to do that, you have to really understand every aspect of your business, but you have to do it as well first before you even, start delegating and bringing team on board, so that when you have the situation that you have team, both you and that team can bring creative and innovative solutions, to maybe the process that you already have in place to make it better, to continue improve, to continue to optimize and create efficiencies within it. That is something that is like a never-ending, it's a never-ending task. Another thing that was that really struck my mind was the fact that she talked about, how in unprecedented times, you sometimes may not know how to respond. We had a pandemic last year, and I know a lot of people in the land flipping space were freaking out. We had actually one of our Hall of Famers say, I was really, really concerned, and I dumped and wholesale way below what I should have, some of my inventory, because I was scared of getting stuck with it. And so in times like this, you have to sometimes, rely on past experience, whether it's yours or that of, mentors or people around you. I remember us, going back in March of last year into, our community and talking about how we had dealt and how we had fared during the 2008 Great Recession, where we continued selling land and we basically kept on making money when everyone else was losing their shirt. And in spite of that, a lot of people, really panicked, and that's fine. Sometimes you have to say, hey, I don't know, what's going on. It was the same for us last year as well. We had been in an economic downturn, in the greatest recession ever in 2008, but we had never been in a pandemic. So it's okay to sometimes say, I don't know, what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. Is that obsession with figuring things out so that you can actually create your own economy that makes the difference, and again, separates you from the pack and helps you become the top 1% as well in whatever you're doing. And why the top 1%? Because who wants to play small? Who wants to play below what they're capable of? Who doesn't want to strive for always excellence and having that discipline and devotion to doing great work, in whatever it is that you may be doing? And so that was something else that really caught my attention. And then I know that is incredibly translatable, into the real estate space. There's no case studies for what we went last year. And I am, incredibly proud how, our entire community and with our leadership, we were able to bring and continue bringing excellence, integrity into the marketplace, even though it was such a difficult year for so many last year. And that really translated in us having one of the most breakthrough years. There are so many challenges. I actually am thinking of really becoming very vulnerable in an episode here in the future, and talking to you all from the behind the scenes of what was happening, for us in both multifamily, land flipping, and our educational business. So know that there's got to be this obsession again with figuring things out, regardless of the conditions being different, the conditions being new, and you not necessarily knowing all the movements and all the actions that you need to take, and just taking it day by day, and doing great work each and every single day, regardless of the setbacks. So another thing that was very, very important to me, and I know a lot of you that are listening to me right now work with your spouses. There's so many of our students that either the lady signs up, and then the husband is either retired or comes into the business, or the husband signs up for our coaching program, and then the wife comes in, and it is so important, I think, for us as leaders of our family, equal partners in our family unit, because that's the very first place where we're creating, legacy, is within our family. And is that when one of you guys says no, it is so important to be a mirror for each other of what's possible, and lead the other one with conviction by taking action, by doing the things that in your heart of hearts need to be done in order to be successful. And when one says no, the other one needs to say, let's go. Because it's this give and take in this dance, especially if you're working with a spouse, where one of you guys is not just going to have complementary skills and clearly define different roles, within your land flipping business. But there's going to be times where one of you is going to have to be a mirror that that reflects upon the other the possibilities, and that is willing to kind of like do an override on fear, and go for certain things that you otherwise wouldn't, because the other one in that particular day or in that particular situation might not feel secure, or might feel that this is too risky. There's this direct proportion or correlation between risk and respect, and sometimes taking risks will allow you to gain respect over yourself and your capabilities and your courage and your confidence, but it'll also earn you the respect of whoever your business partner is, whether it's a spouse or just simply a business partner, a friend, and so on and so forth. There's going to be this one of you sometimes is going to say no, and the other one's going to have to say, let's go. That's something that Kara talked about, within in the dynamic between her and her husband as well. And, I thought that applies even even if you did not have partners and you have a team member that is, that you're trying to enroll and enlist in whatever new project or new initiative or new way of doing things. We are so resistant to change that sometimes, it only takes 21 days for us to get used to, a new way of doing things. And all of a sudden, something happens in the world, in the economy, or in the business, and you have to adjust and change, and people resist change so much. And it's up to you to lead them with conviction and show them what's possible with actual results. So that was another thing that really caught my attention. And then the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is, she talked about, and there was several other women there, in the group, that talked about being leaders, CEOs, business owners, investors, entrepreneurs, whoever is leading a family, a team, a company, has to be a time traveler. And what I mean by a time traveler is someone that, is having a vision, a new vision of possibilities, and that basically has gone, a vision is something that is happening in the future. Yeah, it's something that is not seen yet, that is not in the real, that has not manifested, that is not part of your physical reality yet. It's kind of like out there in the unseen, but you can see it in your mind's eye. And you go into the future, and that's why it's called time traveling, because a vision is usually something in the future. And you time travel and you come back, and that's your job. Our job sometimes as leaders is to be time travelers, to go into the future, come back, and then tell our teams right here in the present, or our families or our clients, or sometimes even ourselves, remind ourselves of what we saw in the future and why it's significant, and why do we need something, why do we need to do something about it right now? It is, I think, one of the most important lessons I think that I took away was this thing, or I love the analogy of the time traveling, and that in so many situations you're going to be in this place where you're going to come at a crossroads. You're going to have to make a decision, and you can't be making decisions from where you're at right now, from the present, but you'll have to make decisions from a vision of the future, of possibility that you have for yourself. And you're going to, have to come back and sometimes enlist your spouse, enlist your team, enlist, your partner, whoever it is, and by telling them about what you see in the future, but not just telling them, but actually showing them why it's significant and what are you going to do about it right now. And so that's one of the biggest lessons. So being obsessed with figuring things out, being able to say, okay, sometimes I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out anyways, is that same obsession. It's the time traveling. It was sometimes, people say no, and you have to say, let's go. It's making sure that we have a team, business partners that are grown-ups, that are willing to take on, that are capable, and that bring creative solutions, to whatever it is that you're going through. One last thing that, that she talked about, and that I always love doing, and that is cross-pollinating ideas from different industries. Sometimes we need to get outside of our industry in order to be able to bring creativity to, or a new way of doing things within, our existing businesses right now. So that's something that, it just came back to me right now as I was talking and speaking. But yeah, so time traveling, that's what leaders do. We time travel to the future, and when we come back and let our teams know what we saw, why is it significant, and you do something about it. You actually take action, take bold action towards that vision, towards that, possibility that you've seen in the future. If you are listening to this right now, that we are in the, on a mission to create 1,000 millionaires through land flipping. We know, we are big believers that, buying a course is shelf help, and that it's just going to collect dust on your, virtual library. But we do know that whenever someone has 360-degree support, a coach, a mentor, and a guide that teaches you and that guides you, and that doesn't necessarily do the work for you. This isn't about, somebody doing the work for you, but that guides you, and that, is walking the path alongside you, that human intervention is what makes and separates also people from the pack. And if you've considered, joining our coaching program and have been thinking about it, but have not necessarily done this time traveling of going to the future and making a decision based on what you see in the future versus where you're at right now, which could be a place of lack, a place of fear, a place of old programming, a place of not, banking on yourself, know that there are others that have gone before you, have been in the same situation, have felt, what you are feeling, and that they've been willing to do this time traveling. They've been willing to being obsessed with figuring things out. They've been obsessed with, resting on the strength of others that have also figured it out and that have gone before them. And that have looked at basically what, how they want to succeed and exceed their goals in 2021, and have decided to join us in our coaching program because, number one, we have the top 1% of the land flippers, actual investors, coaching you through all the ins and outs of building, growing, and scaling a land flipping business that is actually legit, that is not just a hobby where you're dabbling, that has a program that has the ability to support you, that doesn't have just like the top 1%, like I said, of the team, but also has the ability to support you. And that is not a one-man show or, woman show. And that also has the correct delivery methodology to bring that support and that coaching and that mentorship to you on a daily basis, every single day of the week. And that believes in that 360-degree support and that transformation that is not just about, making a buck in the marketplace, but that is bringing integrity back into the marketplace by creating a solution and a delivery of the coaching that actually solves, the problems of 100% of the people that fail in the land flipping business. And so if you are thinking about it, if you've been considering it, if you've been part of our masterclass, all this week, go ahead and book a call. The place to go and book a call is www.landcoaching.com and have a conversation to see if we are a fit for each other, if we are, if you're coachable, if you are the type of person that commits, that believes in commitment, in devotion to great work, commitment to your dreams, commitment to your family, commitment to a legacy for your children, and is willing to basically, do the work, do whatever it takes to figure things out alongside a trusted, advisor giving you strategic advice and actually guiding you through the actual steps, not just giving you content and giving you information. Information is cheap, but who wants just information? What you're looking for is results. And our clients, our students, countless of them, have probably, you've heard from them in many other either podcast episodes, or if you're part of a masterclass, in our masterclass, have done exactly that. They have made a commitment. They have mustered the courage. They have enrolled. They have developed the capability. They're, 3, 4, 5, 6 months out, and they're, with a 6-figure income jump, a quantum leap in income, that when they made the decision, wasn't there, but that they could see it in the future because they had done that time traveling, and are reaping the fruits of having this, of having a team that cares behind them and that has the strategy, that has the superior approach, that has the superior methodology to get them to the finish line. So with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of InFLOW. I can't wait to come actually with I think the following week will be my 100th episode. And so this is episode 99, and excited and looking forward to continue to spend time with you on another episode of InFLOW. And we'll be celebrating 100th episode of this podcast together. Thank you so much. And until the next one. Bye-bye.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.